Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. And, when you are in the public space, right? The public space, uh, what you say can and will be used against you in every conceivable fashion, both good or bad. And let's just be fair. Let's just be realistic. Let's just be honest here. Nothing ever is good. Nothing you say is ever used against you for good. Nothing you say is ever going to be done to elevate who you are as a person. Everything you say will be used to tear you down, whether it's a misstep, a turn of phrase, saying the wrong thing, or believing some pretty bad shit, right? Either way, if it gets out, if a private conversation gets out, it will be used against you. Trust me, I know this. Just recently, somebody literally dropped $100 to get a conversation privately recorded of me in Discord from like back in April. Not even kidding you. I was laughing the entire time. Talk about a waste of money because it was a really lame conversation. Wasn't even the good stuff. But if you want that conversation, you hit me up privately. I can bill you directly. But that being said, when you are going to be going and doing a charity thing and you start using divisive language, it can be used against you. We've seen this recently on YouTube with some people being taken down for a charity stream where they use a lot of negative language publicly, very publicly. But what about when it's done privately and it's elite screen recording or screenshots? That's where we find ourselves here with games done quick indefinitely, splits with speedrunners over sexist and transphobic comments. Not even just sexist or transphobic comments. They go into the realm of racism as well. But then again, this is just a private conversation amongst people. People, when you're private, you're going to use saltier language than you do with people in public. If you think that's not true, then look at everyone you know. The language they use, like the extreme language they use publicly, it's always amplified privately. Reason for that is usually it's meant to amplify effect, make jokes, it's in comments, it's in humor, things along those lines. So generally speaking, I never take what someone says privately in that kind of extreme language as anything more than just being that person talking amongst friends. And everyone knows that when you're amongst friends, it's always a different environment. And when people who aren't familiar with that particular clique and that particular group and that particular phrasing that's used there, it always ends up being used in a negative way, which takes us back to the article. Saying here yesterday, a thread full of conversations between a handful of speedrunners gained traction on Twitter, said to be screenshotted from a private Discord. These conversations included derogatory comments about women as well as transphobia and anti-Semitism. After some initial hesitation, speedrun charity organization Games Done Quick said last night these streamers would no longer represent them at events. Now, here's the thing. That was going to happen one way or the other, right? It's always a situation where people try to be unpersoned, right? And in essence, kind of almost deplatformed. Even though this isn't affecting them in that particular regard, them losing the spot at a Games Done Quick charity event is one that is, makes sense. It does. It really does make sense that Games Done Quick would not want these people associated with their event, even though in the reality of the situation probably boils down to this. Games Done Quick should talk to them and go, listen, let's work on, a bit of a redemption thing. Do you stand by these comments? No. Make a public statement. We'll make a public statement. Let's try to focus on making it good. But the problem with that is when people use the other side of that as a weapon, which is generally what happens, is I won't ever associate with you again because of, and then insert the blank statement here. It becomes a bit annoying because this kind of stuff happens time and time and time again, especially with online creators and influencers. Like I said, anything you say will be in fact used against you. How many people do you know who have lost sponsors because something they said in the past was brought up and shown to that particular sponsor, who then cut ties with that person simply because they didn't want to be associated, right? It is a problem with having, an open mind. And I don't want to necessarily even call it an open mind, but just having a bit of what you might call a Spartacussing situation, right? Spartacussing is a meme taken from the show Spartacus, where a person, it's kind of like words fall from your mouth like shit from ass. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what a lot of it is. Anyway, it says here, the Twitter thread posted by a speedrunner named Andrea contains screenshots of conversations primarily involving two fellow speedrunners, RWhiteGoose, who chronicles the history of speedrunning on his YouTube channel and has done speedruns of games like Mario 64 and GoldenEye, and Gravitron, who plays games like Doom 64 64, GoldenEye, and Pilotwings 64. Gravitron had been scheduled to play Doom 64 at the upcoming Awesome Games Done Quick 2019, which takes place in January. Saying here, and this is from the Discord, I'm thinking I might ban women from my Discord, to be honest, RWhiteGoose says in one of the screenshots, complaining that they dominated chat and singling out one who he said fucked 70 dudes, which he found disgusting. And listen, that's, women can have sex with whomever they want. No one's going to argue against that. It does boil down, though, to just personal opinion about the response to that, right? So, again, I'm not defending what this guy says. I don't even really want to explain it. I don't even feel like I need to explain it. Like, I should explain it away. It's like, look, at this point, we already kind of know. My general take on these things is when somebody says something is to try to disseminate what they mean. I do that instinctively. I'm not going to do that right here. I don't want to disseminate what anyone means. It's up for you to decide. Gravitron goes on to say here that the worst part isn't even the trannies. It's like having a tranny fear for all women that are actually normal. You like zooming in on a pig and looking for an Adam's apple or man hands on the chin or the chin. In two screenshots, the two, along with a handful of other people that discussed everything from Jordan Peterson to women's roles in society to the Jewish question, referring to the rhetoric used by Nazi in the early 1900s. Now, okay, hold on. Oh God, the JQ is it's a dumb thing. It's also kind of a meme, right? In certain areas, the JQ is kind of a meme, right? It's not something you ever really want to discuss, but when it comes up, it depends on the context of the situation. There are people out there that have legitimate questions of the JQ, but earlier this year, there was a lot of people were walking around talking about the JQ in certain sides of YouTube. And it wasn't like, some of it was done from a serious perspective and other parts of it were done from more like what are your thoughts on the JQ? And it was just more like a meme at that point. It was more like, like you don't want to answer it because like, this is stupid, but it's also like, something said to throw people off guard. Again, I'm not defending it. That was my take from earlier this year. It goes on. Initially, GDQ elected not to take action against the speedrunner, saying it couldn't verify the conversation's veracity. To be clear, the statements made in the reports are unacceptable. Read a message from the Twitter account saying they do not meet our criteria for action, but we cannot verify that the statements were made or who made them due to the private nature of where they're purported to have occurred. And the thing is, that's honestly probably one of the best things about Discord is that there is that plausible deniability. But at the same time, when someone's recording you talk and you have no idea that they're doing that, never mind the fact you live in a two-party state where it's illegal to do that without acknowledging it first or announcing that it's being happening and gaining consent, which is where I live. It's one of those things where, illegalities can happen in this regard. And it's funny what happens as a result of that. But yeah, it is hard in some areas to sit there and go like, yeah, it does happen privately. So it's hard to kind of determine the veracity, meaning the intent, meaning the phrasing is terrible, but what is it a joking phrase? Is it serious? And this is why trying to decipher and interpret text is very difficult, right? People have a very hard time with that. They have a very hard time trying to figure that out. So you can understand why GDQ is basically saying like, look, it's terrible shit, but we don't quite know how to feel about it. But that wasn't enough for Andrea, who was very not happy with that kind of non-action. So it says here that Andrea, who felt she provided ample evidence, both in the form of Discord screenshots and further information, which she told Kotaku about in a DM afterwards, saying, I have Discord IDs that are from all messages, and they can use those in a report with Discord. I also send active images from all channels with user lists and names. And then it didn't take long for members of the GDQ community to speak up in opposition to their decision. So they said, listen, we don't know how bad things are. We obviously don't agree with what they said. They said it privately. That's kind of where it's at, blah, 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 blah. And Andrea's like, that's not good enough. And then she went and she's like, I get screenshots of everything. Well, you did. Good for you. You're going to sit there and you're going to assign a value to something you don't even fully know what the value is. People talking privately about something is always going to be done in a different way. And we maybe shouldn't be in a society where that is the case. So people are always going to have different opinions publicly and privately. There are always people that are going to do that. I have opinions that I hold publicly that I may not fully agree with privately. Not saying that I have a complete opposite opinion privately, but just that it's like some things you're like, nope, this is the way it should be, but you may disagree with it in other avenues over here. But for the sake of things, you have to have a certain viewpoint. Just saying, that's the nature of the beast. That's the reality of the world we live in. It's a 50 Shades of Grey world without the bondage, at least in a good way. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where we find ourselves here. So anyway, it goes on. Another person here says, in regards to your notice of non-action of the evidence, I, as a long-time view and donor, am absolutely disappointed. Gaming is already a knife pit for women, POC, and LGBT people. You choosing to do nothing only reinforces that behavior as acceptable. But what's acceptable? They said that it's unacceptable. They said that it's unacceptable, right? But this is the thing. This is the problem. What they said is pretty crappy shit. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like what they said. Okay, it's all like, I get the humor that they're trying to go for. Again, they're always trying to shock value it up privately. There's a running gag with my friends that they go, oh man, edgy Matt should be always Matt. Edgy Matt is great Matt, because I'll say some edgy things in private that they get a kick out of. But I say it for a joke. I say it for a laugh. And a lot of people do the same thing. A lot of people, do this. People like this Andrea person guaranteed do it, right? But this is a problem. It goes further than just saying what they said was unacceptable, which is fine to have. That is the opinion to have, in my opinion. Have that opinion of this is unacceptable. That is okay. But then when it goes beyond that, when it's not good enough that you don't like what they said, I want them gone. I want them gone. I want them this. And then it goes and starts becoming this festering situation where they start becoming this mob. Right? And then the person there, oh, well, I'm a donor. Now we see why certain companies react. When there's more money at play to be lost than there is to be gained, companies will act a certain way. Wall Street Journal, St. Jude's come to mind. I'm just saying, right? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying this is the reality of the world we live in. The reality of the world we live in is things you say privately will always be used against you. Never for you. Never to vindicate you. Always to attack you. That is the way the world is. And Discord is a terrible place for this, to be honest with you. Discord is done a lot in 2018 to hurt a lot of people. And that's part of the issue. But at the same time, people, they want to feel safe in an environment to speak their mind, whether it is something good or something bad. And unfortunately, nowadays, everyone is out there screenshotting everything you say. No matter what you say privately, expect it to be used against you publicly. You should always, 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 always be under the impression that somebody is either recording you or taking screenshots, because that is the fucking world we live in, right? What those dudes says is stupid as hell, and I don't agree with anything that they said, right? But it's also their private conversation. So their private conversation, which is contained in a private Discord, got leaked out and used as a weapon against them. Do they hold these views publicly? Did they discriminate against people publicly? Did that guy actually ban all women from his Discord? If the answer to no is any of those things, then what the fuck does this have to do with you? What in the hell does this have to do with you? It has nothing to do with you. It is a private conversation, and we use those now to destroy people, to utterly outright destroy people. It wasn't like he went on a live stream and called a 3-year-old black kid the N-word repeatedly, calling for his death. That happened recently, and that person's still around to an extent. And that was the most racist thing I've heard in forever. I was legitimately speechless when I heard that. When someone sent me that video clip and I spent 3 minutes in shock and awe in my car going, wow. And I've heard some shit and I've seen some shit. And you kind of have to do that in this job. And it's like, but again, that was a very public statement. That wasn't a private conversation. This is a problem with people out there these days. When you sit there and you go, no, I want it done this way. You can't be here because you said things that offend my sensibilities. If a person has an opinion you don't like, that's unfortunate for you. That is where you got to have it. That is just where it's got to be. All right. Trust me on that one. That's where it's got to be. I just can't stand by this. If GDQ looked at it first and said, look, we don't agree with it. It's unacceptable, but we can't determine where they were coming from. We cannot determine what's in their hearts. Essentially, the whole veracity aspect of it. That's what they're trying to say. But then to the SJWs out there, that's not good enough. Deplatform. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. And it's annoying. Because to Andrea, grow up. Grow the fuck up. You don't like what they have to say. Fine. Call the dude a piece of shit. Fine. Do that. Just do that. Go, you, Gravitron, and RWhiteGoose, you dudes suck. There you go. Oh my God. But no, you took it a step further and you're just like, deplatform them. Do it. I demand it. I mean, Games Done Quick in general becomes more of a lulz fest anyway when people are watching online. I don't know what's gonna happen this year, but this, I don't know. I'm getting worked up over this shit because this is annoying to me. All right. The guy even goes on to say, is all like, RWhiteGoose confirmed to Kotaku that he won't be participating in future events, even though he says that he's been a divisive figure and he hasn't done a speed run since 2014. But he says, I completely understand GDQ's decision. All right. The screenshots show conversations which contain hurtful concepts, ideas, and conspiracy theories, which I have come to fully and completely reject. What I said in the past is indefensible and inexcusable. I completely understand when people are hurt and angry. The reaction to my comments is absolutely justified. All right. So, but then they reached out to Gravitron, who did say on Twitter, when your wrong thing gets you more followers than your GDQ run would have got. And that's it. Again, you have what boils down to a response of one guy saying, look, I don't agree with those statements anymore. Right? I've changed. I don't believe in those things anymore. I don't believe in any of this stuff. And that's fine to sit there and say that. It's fine to sit there and go, I don't believe in this anymore. All right, to change opinion. But you have to give them the goddamn opportunity to actually change their opinion. You have to give them the chance to actually come out and go, yeah, no, that was some stupid shit that I said. I don't feel that way anymore. And I apologize for the shit that I said. That's fine. You should let someone have the opportunity, but not just go, that's not good enough. Okay, Alex Jones of freaking GDQ, calm the hell down. You know what I mean? But then you got the Gravitron on the other side that's like, look, I got more followers on Twitter and YouTube over this controversy than GDQ would have given me anyway. So fuck y'all, I'm going home. Like, that's it. You have two sides of this story. Only, that's where it's at. I don't know. I just so annoying now. It's so annoying that at the end of 2018, because we talk about this crap all the time. People just being deplatformed for stupid shit. All right. Companies have a right to do this kind of stuff because that's their company. They have a right to do that. Sure. But it's like, still, GDQ had the right response from the get-go. The right response from the goddamn get-go, which is flat out, we don't know their hearts in the situation. We don't know the veracity of the comments, but we find them to be inappropriate and unacceptable, which is a fine statement and a fine position to have. But that wasn't good enough, because guess what? It never is good enough. You think that RWhiteGoose here is gonna get any leeway for apologizing? No, of course not. He's not. He's simply not. But he did it, and maybe he feels different. So give him the chance to grow and prove that he's a different person. Because guess what, people? I'm just gonna leave it with this. I'd like you all to remember that humans are constantly evolving. We're always aging every day. We're inching ever closer to death, and our opinions, our viewpoints, our actions, everything like that has the ability to change. And if you don't give someone the opportunity to show that, then you're quite frankly no better than them. Flat out. You're no better than those that you hate. But I'll leave it to you for your thoughts and your opinions. Let me know down in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, type GDQ in the chat so I know. And be sure to subscribe if you want. Comment if you want. Click that bell. Ding dong ditch that shit. And I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. And peace out.